Hello, this is Christian, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my experience purchasing a house in New York State. I specifically just closed on a house upstate New York, but I also went through some of this process in the New York City metropolitan area. But ultimately, I decided not to purchase in the area, backed out of that deal, and then decided to purchase up here. Uh, this whole process took me around 5 months overall, from start to finish. I saw around more or less 50 houses. Most of those were through open houses, and around 10 of those through my agent. Step one. So the first step before you actually start looking for houses is that you should determine whether you're ready to purchase a house. So this means that you have enough saved for a down payment. So if you're going with a conventional loan, you need to have at least 5% down to put down as down payment. If you're going to go down with an FHA loan, you need to put down at least 3.5%. And granted, if you put more, you get more benefits, such as a lower monthly payment, mortgage payment. Also, if you put at least 20%, then that means that you don't have to pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, which will also save you a couple of $100 every month. That's going towards this insurance that makes sure that the bank gets its money in case you default on the loan. So that's just something to keep in mind. Make sure that you have enough saved up for a down payment, and at the same time, make sure that you have some savings in case something goes wrong. For some reason you lose your job after you buy the house. You want to have enough money to cover your expenses for at least 6 months, so that you don't lose the house right after you purchase it. So keep those things in mind before you start looking into purchasing a house. Step two is just determining your budget. The way you determine your budget is mostly by getting pre-qualified, which is mostly determined by how much you earn, so your income kind of from your job. If you have any other sources of income, those are also counted. And if you have money from inheritance or any other income that or assets that you can use to put a larger down payment, then that will also help you afford or get pre-qualified for a higher mortgage amount. Just keep in mind that it is usually recommended that your mortgage payment should not be more than 28% of your pre-tax income. So make sure that you don't go, or try not to go over that, so that you can comfortably afford your house and not buy too much home and then struggle to make mortgage and all the other expenses and bills that come with owning a home. Also, when you're shopping for a pre-qualification, make sure that you go to multiple lenders within a couple of weeks. When you are doing this, all of those credit checks are all gonna count just as one. So there's, I think it's usually between 14 days and 45 days from what I've seen online when I was doing this. Your credit's not gonna take a hit every time a lender's running your credit. Is only going to all of those times are only going to count as one. So just keep that in mind. And I also saw, and in my experience, it's good to shop around through multiple types of banks, so larger banks and also smaller credit unions who might be able to get you a better rate. Just see what gives you a better rate and then go from there. So that is step two. Step three. Step three is determining your housing needs. How many bedrooms do you want? How many bathrooms do you want? Do you need a really good school district that's going to mean higher taxes? All of these things. Do you want a single family home versus a multi-family home? Do you want a house hack, or do you just want a single family home just for your family? All of these things are just things that are going to be dependent on where in life you're at and what your needs are. Step four is when you actually start searching for a house. So hop on to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, and you can start setting up alerts. You can set up keyword searches, all of that. For the most part, they're all the same, except that some of them have more filters than others, but for the most part, they all have the same features. One feature that I like is that you can draw a certain map to a very specific location. So within a couple of blocks or within a few streets, which is very useful. Redfin has that, which I do like and I did use. So just play around, set up notifications, and then you can start looking for homes. Within the same step 4, you also want to make sure that you start getting in touch with a realtor slash agent. So you can ask friends, you can ask family members. If they don't have recommendations, you can use one of the platforms like I mentioned, Zillow or Redfin or Realtor, to get connected to an agent. It's really quick. You just fill out some information about yourself and when you're looking to purchase, and then you'll get a call from Zillow or one of the other platforms within 1 hour usually. In my experience doing that, it was a really quick call. The call comes from someone working for the platform, but as soon as they get more information, they connect you with a realtor who's then willing to show you a house or get more information from you so that they can set up a search for you so that they can help you find a house. So within step 4 still, now you can start going to see houses. So you can go to open houses. You can ask your agent to show you houses that don't have open houses that you would like to see. Step 5, you found a house you like. Great. Yay. So finding a house you like is great, but you want to make sure that you get an offer accepted on the house. So just make sure that you really want this house, and if you do place an offer on the house, work with your agent, and also make sure that you've done your own research on what houses in the area are going for. And based on those 2 things, go ahead and make your offer. If your offer is accepted, the next step within step 5, within the same section, is you're going to have to submit an earnest money deposit. An earnest money deposit is just money that you put down to show the seller that you're serious about buying their home, and that if you walk away, they can keep the money if there's no justifiable reason for you to walk away. So if this is going to be determined by the clauses that are in your offer contract, but if you're putting down an offer on a house, it usually means that you're serious about buying, that you want to buy the house. So usually you're okay with putting down an earnest money deposit. People in the last few years have also been waiving many clauses such as inspection and all of that. I did not do that personally, but some people do if they're in really competitive areas. So just keep that in mind. Probably don't waive inspection. That you don't want to end up in a house that has many problems that could have been found through an inspection. Which brings me to story time, which is why I actually backed out of a deal in the New York City metropolitan area, because the septic tank inspection showed that there was a bunch of issues that were going to be expensive and could have been really expensive. So it did not make sense for me to go through that deal, which is how I ended up upstate. And anyway, back to the steps. So step 6, inspection. So inspection, hopefully you didn't waive inspection because you don't want to end up in a house that has a bunch of problems that could have been found through an inspection. But I know that some people have been doing that in the last few years. I guess it's up to your risk tolerance. I would not do it. But anyway, so inspection is when someone comes into the house. It's a third-party contractor that you hire either through your agent or you find someone else. Then they're just going to be, looking at your house, everything that they can access to make sure that it all looks good. Then after that, you're going to get an inspection report that's going to outline specific findings, which then you can use to get credit for, to get credit towards closing, or you can have the sellers fix it before closing. This is going to depend on your contract, though. In my case, my contract, in my offer, we were not asked for anything to be fixed if it was under $3,000. I think the default on the contract that we used was $1,500. So it might vary depending on where in the state you are. It also will depend on what you actually offer. If you decide to, not increase the threshold for getting things fixed and keep it at 1,500, then anything over 1,500 is fair game for negotiating over. Otherwise, it's not. So keep that in mind. And also, if you and the seller and you cannot come to an agreement on getting things fixed, at this point you can still back out of a deal without losing your earnest money. So keep that in mind. Step 7 is going through the mortgage application. You might have already started this in one of the previous steps. Some of the things overlap, but it's just step 7. Just making sure that you submit all the paperwork, your tax returns, your pay stubs, bank statements to show them that you have the assets in order to qualify for a mortgage. So get all the paperwork in, and then you'll send it off to your mortgage counselor, and then you'll wait. Once you do step 7, the bank is also going to be ordering an appraisal at the same time. So as I said, some of the steps might overlap, but so the bank is going to be ordering an appraisal for the house in order to determine whether it's actually worth how much the seller is asking. This might take a couple of weeks. So they send someone to the house, you're not allowed to go. And then the person is going to look through the house and determine whether the house is worth what the seller is asking based on the improvements in the house and also based on similar homes that sold recently in the area. Step 9 is your attorney is ordering a title and permit search to make sure that the house all belongs to the seller, to make sure that there's no liens against the house, to make sure that the house has proper permits, at least since permits have been started to get recorded, because houses that were built a long time ago might not have permits. So permits are just to make sure that the house is up to code. So that's step 9. That will be sent out, and then you will also just be waiting on the results of that. Step 10, hear back from the bank about the appraisal price. So once the appraiser has gone and looked at your the house that you're looking to purchase and also has run comps on similar homes that sold recently and has determined what they think the fair value of the home is, they're going to tell the bank. The bank is going to tell you whether the house appraised for asking price. So if the seller is asking $290 and if the appraiser thinks that it's worth $290, then you're good to go. But if the appraiser, thinks that house is worth $250, then you might be in trouble unless you had an appraisal clause in your contract, which says that you can back out of the deal if the house is not appraised for asking price. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to back out of the deal, you still want this home, you have to come up with a difference. So if it's appraising for $250, you have to come up with the difference in order to make sure that you can buy the house for $290, or you can negotiate with the seller to see how much they're willing to go down, which is, I think, what most people do. And if the seller is not willing to go down to either the appraisal price or you're not willing to put extra money to meet the seller at their negotiated price, then at that point, as long as you have a clause that says, I will not buy this house if it does not appraise for asking value, then you can back out of the deal without losing your earnest money. But if you decide at that point that you don't want to buy a house and you do not have that clause, then you will lose your earnest money. So just keep that in mind. So the next 2 steps might overlap / might happen at the same time. Step 11, you hear back from the bank about the loan approval. Either they have approved you or they just need more information. But if they approve you, then you're going to get your initial long-term documents to review. And so that's step 11. Step 12 is when your attorneys hear back from the title and permit search, and then they'll tell you what the results were. So if everything looks good, if the title belongs to the seller, if there's no liens against the house, if there's proper permits, then you're good to go on that step. There's nothing else to do. If there's issues like the house has a lien against it, or if some of the latest additions do not have proper permits or they're over the property line, then at that point you can negotiate over that. Step 13, clear to close. So step 13 means that you've been approved for the loan, the title search came back good, there's nothing, no issues. You work with the seller to address any other issues beforehand. And at this point, you're getting towards the end of the transaction. The last thing that you're going to have to do right before you schedule a closing date, which is the next step, is you're going to have to get insurance for the first year. So you're going to have to go shopping for home insurance. You can bundle it with the current insurance if you have current insurance. Sometimes they give you deals. But in my case, I used the broker, which was useful, and they got me a better deal than what I would have done with my current insurance. So just keep that in mind. Go shopping for current insurance. Go shopping for home insurance. Also see if you can bundle it with current insurance to see if you get a better deal. But that's step 13. Step 14, scheduling a closing date. So once you've submitted paperwork knowing that you got home insurance going into effect on closing date, then you're allowed to schedule a closing date. So closing date, it's just the date that all the transactions is going to happen, when all the signing is going to happen. So right before the closing date, though, you're also going to have to schedule your final walkthrough, which is when you go through the home one more time to make sure that nothing happened within the last, since the last time you saw the house. So make sure that nothing's broke, make sure that there's no issues, that it still looks the same way that it did when you were going to purchase it. Also make sure that all of the appliances that the home is being sold with are still there, so that the seller has not taken, the washing machine, the dryer, that sort of thing, if they said that was going to be part of the transaction. So just make sure that that everything's still there, that house still looks in good shape since the inspection, and then you're good to go. So that's final walkthrough. This is going to happen either the day before or the day of closing. So that's pretty close to the final step. Step 15, closing day. Closing day is the last step, and is when you go to an attorney's office, you meet the seller, their attorneys, you can, yourself with your attorneys, and there's usually a third-party attorney's office that's going to facilitate the transaction. And that's that. All that happens is that you do a lot of signing, you go through a lot of paperwork. So they're going to explain to you, this is what this is, X, Y, and Z. We need your signature here, here, here. It's a lot of signing. It's probably, maybe 50 documents or maybe less, but it felt like a lot of documents. So you sign your life away, and after that, you get the keys. And then after that, you're a homeowner. So yay, you've made it. I hope this was helpful, and let me know in the comments if you have more questions.